Hi there and welcome to Hyundai Power Products. My name is Adrian and today we're going to look at this HY125DKH space heater. So I'm going to open the box, lay the contents on the table so you can see exactly what you get, and then I'll go through some of the controls and the assembly of the machine. So I've laid the contents out on the table, as you can see. First of all, fairly obvious, we have the main unit of the space heater itself. So then we have the upper and lower frames here. We have two wheels, two wheel trims. We have the axle, a bag of fastenings. We have these two clips here. Now these are for cable tidying. They're not mentioned in the manual, they're basically an amendment, but we will show you how they're fitted. And then finally, we have the user manual. Now I do strongly recommend that you read the user manual thoroughly before use. So having built a couple of these, the best way to do this, or the simplest way, is to stand the unit gently up on its end. So if you do have some carpet, something like that, obviously this is before we do anything else, no fuel in it, nothing like that. So I'll stand it up. I've got a nice smooth cable here, so I'm not going to damage the unit. And I'm going to stand it up. Just pull that, close that plug, make sure I don't damage it. There we go. So it's up on its end, and that gives us access to the underside. It'll make it a lot easier putting together. So I've got the lower frame here. This is the one with the flat ends on the bar to take the axle. I've got the axle pointing towards the outlet of the heater, and you'll see 4 holes in the outside of the machine. I'm going to line up this top hole with the second hole down, ignoring the top hole. So I'll just take one of my bolts, pass it through that hole, just sit it in position. Same the other side. Line up the bolts with the holes. Oh, and then on these two, I'm just going to screw a nut on loosely. So again, I'm going to show you the simple way. In the packet there will be 2 of these little R clips. I'll fit one in the hole on one end. Then I'm going to fit one of the large washers. Then I'm going to fit one of the wheels with this part, the high raised part, away from that washer. And that's one wheel assembly fitted. What I can do now is transfer it up to the machine and pass the whole axle through the 2 holes in the frame we just half fitted into position there. So I'm just going to hold the axle there, put this wheel on exactly the same way with the high side pointing in, then on with the washer. So we may need to give the unit a little squeeze to be able to get the hole far enough out. So as you can see, I'm just pulling the bracket, squeezing it across, just to access that hole, in with the clip, release, and it springs back to where that clip is. So we have the axle in with its R clips, this frame loosely screwed in with 2 screws. So at this point, I'm now going to gently lower the whole machine back down onto the frame and wheels. So as you can see in the bolt kit, we have long bolts and short bolts. We're going to need 2 long bolts and 2 short bolts to put the rear handle on. And the long bolts are going to go in this hole, through the handle, through the lower frame, and then the nut on the underneath. Whereas the short bolts that are only going through one piece of tube will go in this position. Okay, so the frame in this orientation, I'll offer it up to the machine, just loosely first. I'll just pop one of the short bolts in there just to get me in the ballpark. This one I may have to do a little bit of jiggling to get it in line. Let me see. There we go. Yeah, you might have to jiggle it a little bit just to line up the 2 holes in the flange. Once we're there, put the nut on both. There we are, and I'll fit the long bolt on the other side in this hole and the short bolt in this hole. So I'm going to fit the cable tidy brackets on now. So if I take one of the bolts through there, you'll see there's a half rounded side that makes up with the frame. Top hole there, just loosely secure a nut in place. And again, another nut through the bottom one, loosely secure the nut. And now, passing the screwdriver through the hole, spanner on the back, I can tighten up these brackets into place. So, with those in place, I can just put the power cable onto the cable tidy, and there we are. When you're moving the machine around, it's not going to be dragging on the floor. So final part of the puzzle is to put the wheel trim on. So if you just locate the wheel trim roughly in place first. Now it's going to take a little bit of effort, so I'm going to hold it firmly and just give it a little whack into place. Now obviously my hands are made of concrete. I suggest you use something like a soft mallet or a block of wood just to give it a little push. Once it's on, it's on. So obviously we're all assembled. The next thing to do is to put our fuel of choice, whether that be diesel or kerosene, in the heater. Filler cap is here. Rotate anti-clockwise to remove the cap. Now it does come, let me just pop it out, with a fuel strainer to keep any debris out of the tank. I suggest you leave this in, and every now and again just check it to see if there's any dirt in there. So you're going to need a funnel or a fuel can with a spout or filling spout to put diesel in the tank. Once you put your fuel in, I'm going to call it diesel. There's a sight gauge here, so obviously you can tell when it's empty and full. When the red lever's right back this towards the outside here, it would be full. At the moment it's showing empty, there's no diesel. So that said, if you spill any diesel, make sure you clean it up, wipe it thoroughly before we start using the heater. And obviously when you do fill it up, leave it below the level of the top of the filler neck here. So back on, turn it clockwise, nice and firm. That's locked in place, that's great. So we have the control panel here. Basic operating instructions are all here, so that's great. All the information is there that you need, but I'll just quickly run through it. So we would plug the machine in at the wall or on your extension and switch the power on. And then this would be the on-off switch. So when it's off, it's obviously off. If you turn it on, that's the point at which the heater would fire up. Okay, I'll switch it off. So, thermostatic control here, so we can set a maximum temperature. So it's in Fahrenheit and in centigrade. So as you can see, the left-hand figure would be Fahrenheit, the right centigrade. So that would be 80 Fahrenheit, 90 Fahrenheit, or 25 and 30 centigrade. The display here will show the temperature of the room as opposed to the desired temperature. If I set this asking for 110 degrees Fahrenheit, this wouldn't show 110, it would show me the temperature of the room. So on the rear of the unit here is this pressure gauge. Now this shows the pressure of the fuel delivery air. Okay, that's a bit complicated, I know. And deep inside here is an adjuster, a little screw. We need a flat screwdriver for that. Now this is preset to be correct at the factory. However, during maintenance, depending on the condition of your filters, etc., this may need to be adjusted, but all the details are in your user handbook. So obviously when this unit is running, it is going to get hot, and obviously from the heat discharge end especially. So you do need to make sure and follow the instructions in the manual to make sure that anything flammable is a correct distance away from the outlet here, which is very hot. And obviously during use there are warning labels. This end here will get extremely hot and will burn you. The rest of the unit probably not so much so, but the outlet end definitely is the hot burning bit. So having spoken about the manual, can I please say that all the instructions for use and all the maintenance details and what have you based on error codes and all that, everything is in the manual should you need to know how to repair anything or should you need to make any adjustments. So do read the user manual thoroughly before use. Well, I do hope you found this demonstration useful. For more information on this or any of our other products, visit www.hyundaipowerproducts.co.uk. I've been Adrian, and thank you for watching.